Kingy, the game of the round, maybe the game of the year was Collingwood and Geelong. What are your first thoughts?
My first thoughts are that he's done it again. The coach of the Cats just unlocking Patrick Dangerfield as the game's most destructive forward is a weapon that no one can match. What sort of player do you put on him? Do you go with a key post player who can handle fullback or the power of when he decides to lead, or do you put a runner on him that can do the job of clearances? Do you put a ground level player on him, a back pocket type that can stop him crumbing the ball? When he goes at the ball, it's over. And I just think now it's a discussion around health. How do they manage this guy to be cherry ripe for a late season run?
Well, it's just a remarkable story. It really is. So I just had to plug in most All-Australians ever. And can I just ask you, because is he All-Australian right now?
Right now,
is he All-Australian? You've got thoughts on the All-Australian team often. 8 games in, is Patrick Dangerfield in your All-Australian team?
No. Because you only have one of that position. You only recognise one player in that role every year.
No, it depends. I mean, you could have.
No, it doesn't depend. It doesn't depend. No, you put midfielders to the half forward flanks. There goes 2 spots.
That's not true.
It is absolutely true. Look at him scrambling now to check up last year's All-Australian team.
My word, I am.
Well, tell me who was on the flanks.
I'm about to do that.
You're on the panel. Tell me who was on the flanks.
I can't remember exactly the positions that we ended up. We ended up going with.
Who was on the half forward flanks?
How many forwards did we have?
How many
side?
Half forward flanks for the All-Australian team last year? Who was on?
Well, Jake Waterman made it. So is that the same position as
who was on the half forward flank?
It's not the flank. It's just it's a 6. It's a.
But I'm just saying,
6.
there's one position available.
Well, Waterman made it. Dylan Moore made it. I would think that he plays as a forward. I would think that Isaac Heaney played mid forward last year, and then you've got Hogan. You've got Jeremy Cameron.
Heaney was a permanent midfielder.
He was how many goals?
The most permanent
midfielder
goals he kicked as a mid.
Yeah, but
this is my point.
He's a forward. So we've picked Waterman, we've picked Hogan, we've picked Cameron, and we've picked Moore. There's 4.
Hogan and Cameron are key posts. This is my point.
You're saying that there's only midfielders. We've picked 4 out of the 6 who are genuine forwards.
But to a key position, he's not fighting against those guys.
Well, he's the Waterman role. He's the Waterman Heaney role. He's the Dylan Moore. You could argue whichever way you want to structure the team up. But there's 4 of the 6 that have been named as genuine forwards, and Isaac Heaney, I still think, spent a little bit of time forward. But
see, I think Paul Curtis has had a better forward year than Patrick Dangerfield right now. I think Ben Long's had a better forward year in that role, that one specific spot in the All-Australian lineup. I would have those guys in front. Now, it's not as sexy as picking Patrick Dangerfield and the big name and the brand that goes with all of that. So I understand those guys would have a challenge to push past Patrick because of the sheer
impact, though,
story.
And for single-handedly dragging his team over the line. I certainly saw him do it against Adelaide. And if it wasn't for him, now his numbers probably aren't going to stack up in terms of goals kicked and all of that. But I don't know. You could definitely make a case, and if he gets it, because it's a story, he goes to the most of all time. So Harvey 8, Rashudo 8, Gary Ablett Jr. 8, Buddy 8. And Dangerfield 8 as well. And
it'll be fantastic. It'll be a great story. I'm with you there. But I just think, is he going to play more than 17 games? That's his biggest challenge.
Look, they don't care about his All-Australian status. His record speaks for itself. They care about winning another premiership. So, yeah, they're going to have to rest him at some point. And I would think that's happening reasonably soon because of the soft tissue stuff that he's had recently. But I agree with you. I think it's an unbelievable story to still be doing that at 35, 13 in the last quarter, 8 ground ball gets. It was just an enormous display.
Is it just a side question to that, right? And is it smothering what else is happening at Geelong in terms of Jeremy Cameron not having this? Well, he's just had a quiet.
Well, Stengel's the other one. Stengel's the biggest concern for me. Tyson Stengel's form this year is a real issue, and Ollie Henry, and the forward, the individual play of the forward players is right down. Cameron's one of them. Neil hasn't come on like they thought he would. Ollie Henry's regressed, and Stengel is a shadow of himself at the moment. So, yeah, they got some concerns. But it was a great win. It was 20 points down.
Great game.
No Stewart, no Ruckman after quarter time, and to dominate the last quarter like they did was just a phenomenal performance, I thought.
So I heard you on one of your platforms that come up on Twitter, I think last night or early this morning, talked about Nick Dacos, and you thought the tagging role was a tick?
Yeah, 100%. Because I just think it's so easy to drop that tag at three-quarter time. He had 25. He'd been really good. And Mullen had done a diligent job on him, but many teams would go, okay, we're 7 points down at three-quarter time. He's had 25. Let's drop the tag and let's go. Let's back our own midfielders to get it done. That happens all the time. So to actually see that job through, it's almost the difference in the game. So Dangerfield is the reason Geelong win, but also Nick having one kick in the last quarter, giving away a 50 free kick against. That doesn't happen if he's allowed to do as he please. So I thought that was just another sign of Chris's coaching to see that job through, and well done to Mullen who got that job done. And I just don't want to hear that you can't tag him. I don't want to hear it ever again.
Well, it is difficult.
100% he's difficult. There's no doubt about that. He's really difficult, and sometimes he will burn you off. But I don't want to see we're going to do something different with Nick. I don't want to see Brisbane trying to probably expose him the other way, and all of a sudden at halftime he's had 22. Like, he's still going to impact the game, but don't ever tell me he's untaggable. He's not, and that proved it.
So, okay. So on that discussion, what value do you place on that third position as an extra midfielder going in at stoppages, at centre bounces, etc.?
Sorry? So
you got to sacrifice a position in your midfield. So you go from 3 on-ballers to 2 and a tagger. What value do you put on that third position?
Well, I'd just rather Pendlebury and Sidebottom beat me than Nick Dacos. So what value? You've got to have one first, and there's a lot of teams that don't have one, which is just mind-boggling in itself. But the value is I'd rather that and sacrifice that than allowing Nick to run around and get 10 in the last quarter.
What about Sidebottom again? My God.
I mean, what's 12 score? Was it 12 score involvements for him?
Yeah, I think it was 11, but he had 11 or 12, doesn't matter.
It's a lot.
He hardly played in the third quarter. Like it was almost like they were going to rest him, thinking the game was banked there for a while. Myercheck back in form. How about the contested marking late of Myercheck? Those 2 big clunks. You went, geez, that's powerful. Yeah. But a lot to like about both teams, really, wasn't there?
Yeah, well,
the comeback at the end was unbelievable.
You walk away thinking they can both win this easily. Like you can see that. That's one of those looked like a classic one, prelim final games that we've seen. But you did, and you thought it was going to be the fairy tale for Jack Crisp, who just didn't hit it sweetly, but easily could have gone Collingwood's way as well.
Who finishes higher on the table at the end of the year, Geelong or Collingwood?
I think Geelong with their home games coming up, and I still think Collingwood are going to be challenged physically. If I had to pick, I would probably think them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they both end up in the top 4. And I was clearly wrong about where I saw Collingwood in the pre-season. Let's move on to Friday night, and this is developing as a big story just in relation to Fremantle, Kingy, and the pressure that is now building on the coach. Just because it's not the first time this has happened this year. It's probably the third time where they've been bitterly disappointing on the road. The Melbourne game, the Geelong game, and now that against a team that they just should be beating when you line them up talent for talent. So they've added to the pressure with the way that they've structured that contract, but this story isn't going to go away for Freo.
Yeah, and people say you're hard on coaches, right? And we probably are, right? We probably are. But when you've been a coach, when you've coached a team for 6 years and you've still got inconsistencies and you still put in a stinker every 4 weeks, that's basically what it is. So is it a motivation issue? Is it a tactical / strategic issue? Is it a talent issue? Like, are we overvaluing their list? I don't think we are. I think they're stacked. But you're looking at all areas of the footy club. When he sits down in the post-match and says, we're going to look at everything. We're going to look at myself. We're going to look at, are we playing the right way? Am I able to get these guys motivated? It makes you think, wow, okay, this is serious. If you're questioning everything at round 8 of this year, I think this is this is only going one way for me when you have a look at what's happening at Freo.
Yeah, I mean that was a confronting performance. There's no doubt about that. They weren't up for the fight, and they just couldn't go toe to toe with a team that wanted to, and brought serious heat. And I don't know, excuse me for just going back here, but imagine paying two rucks $2 million between them and losing clearance by that much to a bottom 8 side.
They lost clearance by 28,
28.
which is the worst result under Justin Longmuir and their worst result on record. They lost contested possessions by 48, which is the worst result under Justin Longmuir and their worst result since round 14, 2013. And they lost inside 50s by 27, which is the worst result under Justin.
Talking records, yeah, we're talking sort of record sort of stuff since when they come in the competition in the 90s. This is a bad one. So I don't know. I would think they need to make a decision. And Luke Jackson probably is thinking about going.
So what
home.
do you do then?
Well,
what do you do with your ruck stuff? I know you're big on the. So you're going to.
You can't
play
pay
them?
You can't pay. We have to.
Well, they're on the list and they're paying them. You're going to play them?
Play them now. Yeah,
Right.
you have to play them now. But I mean, you would rest Sean, I would think, every so often and let Luke Jackson do what Luke Jackson does best, and that's ruck and not play forward. Like 5 marks, no score between them when one of them is required to play as a forward. This was just the most obvious decision ever not to do this, and they've done it, and this is the result you get. So at the end of the year, you need to make a call on which one you want to be your lead ruck. And I think that will be dictated by Luke Jackson if he decides that he wants out.
Can I put a follow-up question in the can for next time an official, be it the CEO, president, whatever, says that this coach will be coaching absolutely round 1 next year, right? I want the next follow-up question to be, if this coach is not coaching round 1 next year, will you also walk?
Yes.
That's the next question.
Next question you
that
must
needs
ask.
to be asked is, will you also vacate the premises if that is not the case?
That's a good question.
I want that to be enshrined in the media book, the handout every year. When you hear this waffle, no, he's our man. He's next year. He's our man.
Guaranteed.
Right, if he's not, take off yourself.
And Ross Lyon is his absolute best. It started the previous week, didn't it?
Got to
with
give
Ross?
your man some credit.
No,
give him
I
some
am.
credit.
I am.
No, the other guy.
Oh, McRae.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's playing the role that they got.
Oh,
him.
come
I
on.
still don't think
give him more than that.
I still don't think he
we
hurt.
can't move on from this until you straighten this up.
No, but it's just my belief. It's just nothing will change my belief that I don't think he's a damaging
Recognised
player.
performance. He was on the weekend.
I'm about to say he's playing a very good role for them and what they got him there to do. I don't think in 2 years' time, if he's their main midfielder,
I'm talking about Saturday Harbour or Friday night.
There's some concerns. So
Recognised Friday night.
I just
What
did. I just did.
No, you didn't say.
I just did.
You danced around saying.
I did. I thought he was terrific inside. That's what I thought.
38 touches,
yeah.
14 clearances, 25 contested possessions. Just I want to hear you say well done, Jack.
Did say
just
well
say well
done,
Jack.
I said I did.
No, say
well
straighten
done.
up.
Well done, Jack.
Thank you
well
very
done.
much.
Well played. Well played. I assume you'll get the 10 coaches' votes, which is outstanding. Kingy, disappointing performance.
Yeah, they put in a stinker. As simple as that. Their biggest challenge, the game where they could show the football world that they have genuinely arrived, and they got smacked at clearance and smacked at contest. And in conditions like that, if you can't compete where the ball needs to be won at the source, then you're in trouble. I mean, Matty Rao was just completely negated by Dunkley. One clearance.
Yep.
I mean, you just couldn't see that coming. If Matty Rao could have, if he could have ordered the weather for the night, that was what he would have scripted. So to be smacked like that would, I think, would really scar, would hurt this midfield group. And then you start playing Brisbane's game, and they've just got these damaging. Charlie Cameron, we haven't seen Charlie do that for a little while. He was putting on a clinic last night. They looked dangerous for a team that kicked 9 goals. They looked dangerous everywhere. Strange, wasn't it?
It was, and look, I think it's a bit of a lesson for the Gold Coast group. There's no doubt they've got ahead of themselves in the way that they've carried themselves for a team that hasn't achieved much at all. Well, going after Ashcroft in the pre-season and suggesting he was the wrong Norm Smith medalist, and then for him to single-handedly destroy you at clearance last night, that was a mistake, you would have to say. I just think the way that they've carry themselves with the bravado, with a touch of arrogance, with we're going to be hard to play against, all of that. And then you serve that up on your biggest stage on a Sunday night in front of everyone, then that's a kick in the stomach, I would have thought, last night. So just head down for a little while. Enough of the talk, enough of the in-the-face stuff, enough of going after premiership players and Norm Smith medalists, and then he makes you look foolish the next time you get to play them. I would think that's a bit of a lesson. And why does he keep playing the three talls, do you think, Kingy? Like in those conditions and with their recent form. So we're talking Reid, Walter and King clearly. I think there was 3 marks and 3 goals between the three of them. And Reid might have kicked one late. It's not working.
No, well, it's not. You have to have your own coaching philosophy as to whether you think it will work. I do think in the background we've got to get some games into these
for the
kids.
future. Yeah,
yeah, we've got to invest, and there'll be some pain in the short term. They have been winning games while they've played them over the last few weeks, so I think there's been some benefit there. But maybe you have to make a choice between Walter and Reid in the short term to just get a little bit more nimble in the forward half. But it really was about they couldn't get the ball out of their back line. There's just that forward half press of the Lions. Once it gets organised, geez, they make it hard to move the ball against, don't they?
That was a message. I mean, and it's a pretty good effort from where they've been pre-season, short pre-season, interruptions, win the premiership, and still have the motivation to be playing like this. They're in really good shape. MC,
it's not a great advert for the draft, though, is it? The fact that the father-son rule discussion, it only gets harder to have.
Louder. It gets a lot louder right now because there's some teams out there, and you look at West Coast, and there's just zero talent on that list versus the best player potentially going to the Premiers. That's not right, and that's something the AFL need to look at seriously if they want this to be an even competition. The MCG yesterday, it was Hawthorn taking on Richmond, and it was a pretty solid performance, I would have thought, from Hawthorn, but albeit against a weak opposition. Kingy, anything that you've seen from the Hawks that has you more confident than where you were a couple of weeks ago?
More confident than where I was a couple of weeks ago. That's a good question. They just did what they had to do. I actually thought Richmond were pretty good for the first half. They just couldn't get any.
Had a lot of entries, yeah.
They locked the ball in their forward half, and they really struggled to get the ball out. The Hawks. So I know people look at this game and go, it's 65 points. You know, there's nothing there for Richmond. I thought they were all right for the first half. So give them credit there. And then they just got rolling, the Hawks. They're just too slick. They're just too good right now for to be worried about where Richmond are at or what they're doing. So they're pretty powerful, Cornsey, but I want to see them do it against a good team in the next couple of weeks.
Yep, and that will come. I thought great news. Barras has really struggled to find his feet. Thought he was excellent, and Battle's really starting to charge. I mean, He's had 10 intercepts. He's had 33 yesterday. His last
Sicily's their biggest worry,
fortnight. Isn't it? Yeah. Sicily's a worry, and the reliance on Gunston to still be their most dangerous forward at his age, until they can get some reinforcements back, would be a level of concern. But it was a special day.
Are you worried at all about the Wizard? He's starting to do a bit of the old bird going on.
I love it.
You love it?
If we're talking about Bailey,
I'm just you're just saying players getting ahead of themselves with the Suns.
I love it because I think he backs it up with his own performance.
Okay.
And when we're talking about Bailey Smith and his ability just to be on the line, I think the Wizard is of a similar nature to that, and good for the game.
Now, can I just give a special mention to my man Hustwaite?
Yeah, he looks good, didn't he?
Remember I talked about him last pre-season. They just couldn't get him into the team. And I've touched on it with Mitch a couple of times, particularly early in seasons. He can never start the year, so he has to fight his way in or wait for some injury. He's looking like an AFL player. Just the 20-odd touches, but just
the way
just
he moves.
He's a fraction slow. He's got to work on some speed, but I think they've found one there.
They found it. They keep finding him. So you end up with 19. I think 10 score involvements, which is a large number. The Bulldogs absolutely destroyed Port Adelaide in Ballarat. They had zero answers for it. Let's have a listen to the coach, Ken Hinkley, post-match.
Started okay, but once the game got away from us, they grew in confidence. Is what happens in a game of football. They looked like they couldn't do anything wrong. We looked like we nearly couldn't do anything right. So, at the end of the day, the disappointing thing is we lost badly. it's not a surprise that the Bulldogs are able to beat us. It's a surprise to me that we got beat so badly.
Surprise to most people, I would have thought, Kingy, but the Dogs look like the real deal this year.
Well, you tell me.
Well, yeah, I just said the Dogs look like the real deal this year.
Oh, I'd like you.
What more do you want
I thought
from
my
me?
earphones were playing up.
You want me to repeat it again?
I thought, gee, it's been a rough day technically. We had the echoes
Well,
going
they've got
early.
one of the great lists. Of course, it's not a
Gee
surprise that they're the real deal. I think you would know that. I think they've got 5 of the top 10 highest rated players in football. The list is absolutely stacked, so it's not a surprise that the talent is coming together and that they're playing well. It's not. It's just not.
You make me laugh. You make me
You don't
laugh.
think they've got a good list?
I don't think they got a good. Who said I don't think they got a good
Oh,
list?
you're laughing at me. I thought you were laughing at me.
I
'cause
think
you
they
said
got
I
a
think
good.
they've
I think they got a good list, but so to a Fremantle, and they've done
Yep.
nothing with it.
Yep.
So I still think you've got to be able to get the right pieces in the right positions. And I think when we talk about this, to see Bontempelli play more forward, I think he can have a Dangerfield type impact to this forward 50. They don't need him in the middle anymore. The game's number one player at the moment via the Champion Data ratings is Ed Richards. He's the number one midfielder in the comp. Now, Bont's still probably the game's best midfielder right now. Him and Dacos are probably the best two in the competition right now. If they can have him spend 60% of the game forward, he will be their best forward. And I think that's an area
And
they
they probably
need to address.
Yeah, they need that as well.
Yeah, it's an area of need, isn't it? So I'm interested to see whether they can have a look at that over the next couple of weeks because they look pretty solid. I was wrapped with Buku Khamis' game. He's starting to do some things that take your eye.
And I thought O'Donnell as well. Like he was everywhere early. So the development of those two, you're right. That's been a story, definitely.
What the hell happened at forward 50 stoppage or defensive 50 stoppages for the pair?
What do the numbers tell you?
They conceded 8 goals from defensive 50 stoppages. 8 goals. I've never seen a number like that.
It's usually 1 or 2's too many, isn't it?
Two, you've got a headache at 2.
And coaches hate nothing more than conceding those type of goals, kicking goals
8.
and those goals. Well,
8 goals.
They've got issues everywhere, to be fair. Like, Tim English was dominant. Jordan Sweet's a bit of a problem, was destroyed by Sherry last week, gave away 5 free kicks. So the ruck lack of competitiveness and the recruitment of Ivan Soldo has been a disaster. To give up what they gave for Big Ivan and to not have him even play, the list management decisions have been a little bit perplexing to me for a bit of time. So, yeah, they're in trouble.
They're in trouble.
Yeah, their list is in trouble, which you and I have spoken about for 2 years.
So can you afford to have Rosie at halfback?
Well, you have to because if you
Smashed at clearance.
If you put him back in there though, then what do you do with Wines? What do you do with Drew? What do you do with Mead? What do you do
You
with?
prioritise winning the thing.
I understand that, but if they're
I
not,
like him at halfback,
they're not in
but
the midfield because they can play nowhere else. Like Ollie Wines can't play anywhere else, so if he's not midfield, he's not in the side. Same with
So
Drew.
have they got this list build wrong?
Well, I haven't rated their list for a while.
So have they got it wrong?
Yeah, I don't think the list managing has been great at all. And, you know, the last season, and they don't have their first draft pick, which is the biggest. I can't believe they thought, let's give away our future first round pick with where they were at. I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Butters. We'll see what happens with the list. We'll see what happens when the new coach takes over. But I
If
think
you're
there's
painting this picture,
fair amount of pain coming.
a fair amount of pain.
Yeah, a lot
So
of pain.
So if you're painting this picture, how do you sell to Zach Butters that this is the place to be?
Well, I think you just worry about it in 12 months' time or 18 months' time. And if he decides to leave, you match the deal and then you try and get the biggest haul for Zach Butters that you've ever got, that you can ever get, whatever that looks like. So at least he's a restricted free agent, similar to the Giants and Jeremy Cameron in the end, 3 first-round picks, whatever it was. So if he leaves, you just do the best that you can. But
got to get some kids into this team,
yeah,
I reckon.
Yeah.
Get some excitement, some enthusiasm, some leg speed, some spark.
If you can find some for me,
Well,
I'm happy to listen.
let's
But
expose them.
There's not that many.
Let's expose what's there.
To be fair, he has played kids.
I'm not
in
saying
his time.
We need to see him now, though, don't we?
Yeah,
Got to die a different death.
Be good to discover some if you can. So Adelaide got it done. Had a very good day in the coach's box. I thought did Nixie. You could tell from the first 3 minutes of this game that one team was well organised, covering the ground really well, sharp on turnover, and their forwards looked so dangerous. And Carlton were looking for it easy, and you could tell that within the first 3 minutes of this game.
Looking for it easy.
Yep. Looking for it out. Oh, the Curnow and Kane. You go and watch Charlie Curnow's first two contests. Kane leads him up, takes an intercept mark, and then the second one, same thing happens. And Curnow was really looking for an easy one out the back. And then I reckon his next contest, he sort of reaches in and he's looking for an easy one. I thought that was symptomatic of the day for me. And Adelaide were just aggressive. Their pressure was elite. And gee whiz, the forwards looked dangerous, and a really good response from the skipper, Jordan Dawson, I thought, who spent some more time forward and was incredible.
Yeah, he's the third one of the competition that can do the Dangerfield-Bontempelli forward 50 role, because he was targeted 4 times for the first time in his career at Adelaide, and it took 3 marks. He looked unbeatable forward of the ball, and it begs the question for me, are they a better team without Matt Crouch?
Well, yeah.
This midfield looks dynamic.
Yeah. Yes, to answer your question. And when the injury was announced, I thought, well, it's not unfortunate for Matt, but it's not going to hurt Adelaide. I can't work out why Berry hasn't made it yet. He was a sub and ended up coming on and having 10. Maybe his engine isn't good enough to go for 4 quarters, but he's a dynamic sub to have. But then the luxury of Rochelle actually went inside for.
Mate, look good
for the first. Hasn't happened often this year, and then that got him going. His best game for the year. Rankin was able to go more forward, your man, which was frightening, and then Dawson more forward as well. So you speak about Phil Thorpe, Fogarty, and Walker. Not a whole lot between those three. It was the smalls that did the damage for Adelaide. But I don't know. I just think when they play like that, why can't they be there really deep into this season, Adelaide? They just haven't been able to do that consistently.
Sneaky shot at the top 4. The Adelaide
I think
Crows.
so. I think so. Yeah.
If they can, this is why I talk about Matty Nix, right? And people get they remember I copped so much flack for the Longmuir versus Nix
for a long
discussion.
Time. Yes.
Why do you like Matty Nix? Why not Justin Longmuir? This guy's ball movement model, you just see it. They ran Carlton off their legs, and it wasn't necessarily with sheer leg speed. It was speed. It was ball movement, speed of ball, and Rankin and Dawson are a great discussion. Both of them went in for 17 centre bounce opportunities, and they've kicked 5 goals, 3 between them in the forward 50. Like it's the plan and what they've set up is working. It's just a matter of where to. So did you say are they better with or without Crouch? Did you give me an answer? Without.
Yeah. I think the game is starting to move past the real accumulators, and you want to be pretty special if that's your go. That's why that was probably the basis of my McRae thoughts. But he's actually been impactful with sheer weight of numbers.
Yeah.
Matt Crouch not so.
I'd love to see him as the sub, Crouch. Come on, and you need to get some ball. You need to get things going. So, they're going beautifully, and Vossi's got his headaches. I still think they'll gather. I still think they'll be okay. Yeah,
I'm not so sure. When their senior players are down, there is nothing underneath that, unfortunately, for the Blues. So when Walsh is down, Curnow's down, Mackay doesn't touch it, Wiedering had his hands full, not impactful at all. There's not a whole lot underneath that, unfortunately. They're so reliant on those players to play well like they did the previous week. The Battle of the Bridge in a much-needed win for Sydney. We're going to speak to Chad Warner shortly about that. But McCartan and Hogan, Rampion Green was as good a defensive game as you are going to see. And the Chad was back. Can if you think Carlton can gather after what you saw from Sydney, do you think they can gather for the rest of the year?
Just banged up with injury, aren't they? And now they lose Melican for what'll be 3 weeks.
Yep.
It just gets hard for the coach. He's just having one of them years.
Hamling and Francis isn't probably going to scare the life out of the opposition defenders, is it? Like, well done.
Francis is peacocking around.
So is Hamling.
I know
he's going after them, going after Taylor and Buckley. What are you doing? But it worked.
When you start the game like Warner and Heaney did, then you're away. So if you win first quarters, if you lead at the quarter time break, you're winning 75% of games this year. So you got to get everything right at the start. This is why we talk about coaching. We talk about match committees on a Wednesday. If you make mistakes and get it wrong in the first quarter and trail, you're a 1 in 4 chance of winning. So you got to get it right, and they just didn't. They just couldn't get the job done on Heaney, and they couldn't get the job done on Warner, and they destroyed them early.
They in trouble, the Giants now?
They're in trouble. Absolutely, they're in trouble. They haven't really. What's their main asset right now? What's their strength
they can't
area?
Score, and they concede so many entries against that eventually weighted numbers get you. So, and they can't move the footy, can they? Which I think you spoke about last week. So
Lockie Whitfield again. Like he gets a stack of footy. You know, is he really getting bang for? I mean, it's time. It might be time to shake up the midfield and put a couple of guys that maybe won't win you a contested footy, but will give you some creativity in the guts.
You're thinking your man with the lid.
Maybe even try Whitfield for a bit, try Ash for a bit. Just try and change the dynamic in there, because I just don't see a lot of productivity.
West Coast went down to Melbourne off the back of what Tim Gossage is describing as the best individual performance he's seen at Optus, and he would know, Kingy.
The best he's seen at Optus.
Yep, the best he's seen.
So Buddy
hasn't been a. I mean, the ground hasn't been around for that long, but there was some pretty good
I
grand
saw
final.
Buddy kick 7 there once.
Yeah, I think you're right. Didn't he have yeah.
And then he hurt his ankle, his foot, and didn't play again for about 10 weeks.
Had a sore foot.
Didn't he kick 5 in a prelim? Max?
Yes.
I think that would be a little bit better, wouldn't it?
Probably. Might have been an exaggeration from.
I think the sausage
the
has done
Goths.
himself a
I would
mischief.
have thought Petrarca in the grand final was pretty solid.
Pretty solid.
Yeah. Bailey Fritsch, the same. Anyway, it was a good performance. So I asked you about Dangerfield. Is he in line for number 9? Is Gawn in line for number 8?
Cherry's making a run.
Are they measuring Gawn up? Not that they need to measure, because they've got his measurements.
They've got it. They've got his.
For an 8th.
They've all but they've had no one else's. No, I reckon Tristan's making a charge.
It's still on. The race is still on. Good.
And you'll only pick one, won't you?
Yes. No, I don't know. We might.
You just spoke on behalf of the group then, didn't you?
No.
You got nervous
I don't
for
know
a second.
Yeah. We'll wait and see. But, yeah, I mean, I said last night, just for Harley Reid to cop that attention at his age, does he think, who's going to help me? Like, who is coming along to help me in the next 5 years, Kingy?
So what do you want everyone to run from the contest that's in front of them? What do you want them to run?
For enjoyment, for satisfaction?
Oh, going to get tagged. I'm leaving the club.
Play
That's
footy
it.
to win.
I'm going to a great club that's going to win me a flag.
Also play to win. And you reckon that's going to be enjoyable for him, rocking up on a Monday and losing? He's played in 5 wins, the poor kid.
How do you propose the draft works from here on in?
Well, sign for 3 years and you can get out. It's your choice if you want.
Jeez.
Get out of there, son.